Alright, Phase 2. This lasts from 85% until 55%. In Phase 2, Arcane Wrath will cause the affected player to be trapped within a 10-yard radius, putting them in a little timeout. That means the person who's affected by this will need to run to the edge of the range, which is indicated, and try to attempt to pass it off to one of the designated people for this debuff. So you obviously don't want your melee to be hit by this.
Yeah, it gets really tricky with melee because you're running in there and it's really close to everyone and it can jump in literally any direction. Also, during this phase, if you are doing the stacking the mines neatly, if someone in the range group gets the debuff on them, they can't move that far away. They're only moving a few yards away. So either the group needs to move for a second and move back, or they just need to totally get out of the way, because otherwise it's just going to keep bouncing back into the range group, and it just becomes incredibly difficult to deal with. But anyway, destructive resonance will cause the mine to slowly increase in size. So instead of standing to their sides, you need to just like depending on the method you're dealing with them, you need to stay a little bit further away from them and pay attention to how big they are.
Force Nova will push those it hits back, so you really need to run through it. This is important to note because this is why you want to stand behind the mines so you don't get pushed back into a mine, which is a bad time.
Speak from experience. A Mark of Chaos will now cause the affected tank to be ported to a location. It actually looks like they're being ported to the largest group of players, so the tank will need to haul ass away from everyone, clearing 35 yards somehow, and everyone else should be aware and try to get away from him as well if he's not going to get far, or sorry, she or he can't get far enough away as possible.
The ads will now cast Impactful Pulse, which will knock players back from the ads when the ads die. So the mines, definitely the trickiest part of Phase 2, because you don't want to be, from the two abilities that can knock you back, you don't want to be pushed into a mine.
So after the second phase, you'll go into the first transition phase, which will last for a minute. The boss will fly up into the air, becoming unattackable, and two kinds of ads will spawn, a bunch of Volatile Anomalies, and 2 Gorian War Mages. The War Mages do a few things. They have an aura that will increase allies' damage done by 50% and increase attack and casting speed by 50%.
Nether Blast will target a random raider, dealing a bunch of damage to that raider and anyone within 5 yards. The raid should probably just be spread out a bit to deal with this effect.
Just fan out, yeah.
Yeah. And this ability is also interruptible, although you won't be able to lock them down or anything.
No, they spam the crap out of it.
Okay.
Slow will debuff a raider, slowing them by 50% for 45 seconds. Healers just need to dispel these things really quickly because it's a real pain.
The ads will also Asphyxiate, which will decide who is being hit by the Nether Blast.
Yeah, it's clearly indicated if you have DBM. To deal with the War Mages, though, just mark one of them and burst them down. Both need to die pretty quickly, but the first one especially because they have the aura.
The Volatile Anomalies will deal raid-wide damage when they die, so a tank will pick them up and keep them away from the mages. You will need to not have them all die all at once. Healers need to be aware that raid damage will go out when these things are dropping. The ads spawn every 12 seconds, and these ads can spill over to Phase 3. If they do so, just make sure to get them down first.
If you're DPSing these ads, just take a look at the raid's health on grid or whatever sort of raid frame thing you have, and just if everyone's low, just stop DPSing for a second. But to move on to Phase 3, this will go until the boss reaches 25% health.
So in Phase 3, Arcane Wrath will only have its jump range reduced by 25% per jump instead of 50% in the previous phase. This means a few extra jumps are required. For this phase, you're going to 7 stacks, and the person who's affected by this might want to pop a CD.
If you're wondering why 7 stacks, it's because, as mentioned, the range is only reduced by 25%, so there's still a chance that it can jump back into the raid if you do it at 5 stacks. But the Destructive Resonance Mines will now last for 2 minutes instead of 1.
Force Nova will send out 3 waves instead of 1. Each wave comes every 8 seconds. Healers, just be aware of the increased raid damage. It's not a lot, however.
And Mark of Chaos will root the tank in place, meaning the other tank will have to drag the boss over and away to the other spot.
The ads will now have Fortified. It's a buff that increases their health by 75% and makes them immune to CC. This means the ads can't be casually taken down. They need to be dropped like a sack of hammers.
Once a boss reaches 25% health, you go into the second transition, and the same 2 ads will spawn and should be dealt with the same, except now an extra ad is going to be there called the Gorian Reaver. The Gorian Reaver needs to be picked up right away, otherwise it'll just crap on whoever it hits first.
The Reaver will use Devastating Shockwave, which deals a ton of damage to everyone in a 20-yard cone in front of the ad. So again, the tank needs to take these and face them into the wall.
Crush Armor will cause a stacking debuff to be applied to the tank and increase damage taken by 15% for 25 seconds. Just pop CDs if they're, kicking the crap out of you.
The most deadly ability in the history of World of Warcraft, Kick to the Face, will make the ad deal a bunch of damage to the tank, causing them to lose threat and knock them away when they're hit with that sweet chin music.
The other tank should just quickly taunt him when this happens, and then the tank who just got booted in the chin needs to pick him back up really quickly. Kill the War Mages first, then the Reaver. The anomalies should just be dropping periodically throughout the transition anyway.